Brett, you got an ESV? Does it say that? Okay. Yeah, I have an NIV, so it's not a word for word translation. It would be 17 to 21. It would probably be verse 20. Okay, the first of the dough. You get the idea though. A cake, dough, first of your dough. Yeah, money. Okay, the idea is this. You get the idea though. And this is all through the Old Testament. We don't have time to go all of these passages. If you want to take notes, go to Exodus 23, 14 to 19, and you'll see the same idea. We're going to look at the New Testament. I think that's where it'll be more understandable to us. But when the Jewish people would grow food or they would have animals born, God required the first of whatever it was as an offering to him. And even the son, the firstborn son, was to be consecrated or holy to God. And Jesus was that in Luke. We're going to go there in a second. But the idea is, okay, I hooked you up. Now you, showing that you trust me, you give me the first back. That's the idea. And that's what we're told to do in the New Testament with our money. It says on the first day of the week, we should set aside a sum of money as the first fruits, showing, okay, God, you gave me the energy to work. You gave me the job. You gave me the ability to get this money. It's a gift from you. So now I'm going to give you back a first of what you've given me. That's the principle of what we would call tithing or giving to the church. Okay, it's the same thing as the Old Testament. The first fruits were offered, whether it was flour or animals or firstborn sons. The first was offered to the Lord. And so that's the idea being picked up in Romans 11:16. It's if the first fruits of the dough is holy, then the whole batch is holy. Do you see Paul's analogy there? Okay, real quick, let's look at 1 Corinthians 15. And first fruits is used there, and I think you'll get it. And this will touch on something we touched on at the end of study last week, which was Julie asked, what happens if I die tonight? You guys remember that? Yeah. Corinthians 15, 1 Corinthians 15. Um, this will be an addition to what the answer was last week to what happens when if I died tonight, what would happen to me? Okay, so let's look at 15 and let's look at 20 to 24. It's 4 verses. Verse 12 and on is about the resurrection. Okay, and remember, Corinthians was written as a letter where the Corinthian church was asking Paul all kinds of questions, and he answers question after question after question. That's why the book is so sporadic. About this that you asked, about this that you asked, and it just goes from marriage to resurrection to all these questions. They're asking questions, he's answering their questions. Okay, so he picks up on resurrection here in Corinthians 15, and I want to start at verse 20. If Christ has indeed been raised from the dead, the first fruits of those who have fallen asleep. There's your first fruits. Or died, if you have an ESV. NLT. Okay. For since death came through a man, that's Adam, the resurrection of the dead comes through a man. For as in Adam all die, but in Christ all will be made alive, but each in his own turn. Christ the firstfruits, then when he comes, those who belong to him. Then the end will come, when he hands over the kingdom to God the Father, after he has destroyed all dominion, authority, and power. Here's the idea. Jesus was the first human being to receive, hi Laura, to receive his resurrected body as a human being. He's the first fruit. Okay? No other human beings who have died have a resurrected body yet. He's the only one. But when he comes back at the resurrection of the dead, remember last week we looked at Revelation 20, the sea gave up the dead that were in them, death and Hades gave up the dead that were in them, and they were all standing before the throne. Okay? There is a universal resurrection of all of history. That's when everyone gets their body. Jesus is the only one in heaven right now who is a resurrected human being. No one else. We're all spirits up there. Whoever's up there, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Noah, they're all spirits. They don't have their bodies. And so when Julie asked, what would happen if I died tonight? Your body goes and stays here. It's obviously not resurrected because we're at your funeral. And it goes in the ground, or it burns, whatever you choose. And your spirit goes to be with God if you're a Christian. If not, it goes to Hades, or the place of the dead, and waits judgment. Okay? But Jesus is the first fruits of those who have fallen asleep or died, and he is risen as the first fruits, meaning he's the first one. Okay? The only reason I wanted to go there was the first fruits example is there, and it shows a little bit of the question that was asked last week of what happens if I die. Okay? When we all die, if it's not before Jesus comes back, it's not before the resurrection, then we will be in heaven with God as a spirit. Our immaterial soul part or spirit part goes to be with God. Your body stays here. And at the resurrection of the dead, all of our bodies will come back at the same time. And we await judgment. Okay? And this passage says, each in his own turn, first fruits, and then when he comes, those who belong to him. Okay? So the resurrection isn't until Jesus comes back. Okay? That's the end. All right, so first fruits, you guys get the idea. So back to Romans 11. It's the book behind Corinthians. And we got 5 minutes. Actually, we got 10. We'll go another 10 minutes and we'll be done. If the part of the dough offered as first fruits is holy or set apart, okay? Let me do this real quick. I do have some dictionary definitions of holy. Okay, let me just read these real quick. Holy, in the sense that we're talking about here, means this: specially recognized or declared sacred by religious use or authority. It means consecrated, like holy ground or holy animals or holy vessels or holy people or holy dough. It doesn't mean this, which is a reflection of God. This is what it means when God is holy. Here's what it means: inspiring fear, awe, or grave distress. Okay, that's a simple way to say that's how God is holy. He is totally an other being than us. He's in another category, and he is not human by any stretch of the imagination. He inspires awe, fearful, and then the other word is grave distress. Right? And that's why when people get in the presence of God, they fall flat as dead men, because that's what holiness does to unholy people, which we all are. Yeah.
An excellent book by R.C. Sproul, the same author who's talking about what I believe is The Holiness of God. I finished it a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Really good.
What's interesting is I looked on Amazon.com and allbookstores.com before I came at that book. It's $8. So if you want that after shipping, $8, you could get the hardcover Holiness of God.
Totally worth it. It's a great book to understand God's holiness.
Yeah. That's not the way we're talking about holiness here, though. Okay? The way we're talking about it is this: dedicated or devoted to service of God, the church or religion or holy man. That's how the dictionary describes it. Do you see the difference? Okay, often we think of holy only as like without sin, pure, terror, right? Holy, holy, holy is the Lord, and the angels are covering their faces and they're flying and it's terrifying and there's an earthquake and right? Jesus dies and the Holy of Holies is ripped into and dead men come out of their graves. I would like to go there real quick if we could. Go to Matthew 27. You get the idea. You'll get to see the sense of holy, I think, here in Matthew 27. 51 and 53. Matthew 27 is a long chapter. I'll start at verse 50. This is as Jesus is dying on the cross. Watch this. Matthew 27:50. And when Jesus had cried out again in a loud voice, he gave up his spirit. At that moment, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom, and the earth shook and the rocks split. The tombs broke open, and the bodies of many holy people who had died were risen to life. They came out of the tombs, and after Jesus' resurrection, they went into the holy city and appeared to many people. Okay? Did you guys ever read that before? When Jesus died, dead people came back to life. Holy people, not meaning sinless like God is, but set apart for God's use, like the apostles were holy, or Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were holy, or right now, if you want to use the word, I am holy because I'm being used for God's purposes to explain the scriptures. I'm not a good person. I'm not awe-inspiring. I'm not dreadfully terrifying. You get it? Holy, consecrated, set apart for a specific use. And in here, it talks about the holy city. Well, a city is not moral. It's just a city. But God uses Jerusalem. It's set apart. It's his city. In fact, the New Jerusalem, which is the capital city of heaven, is the holy city of God.